Hey, welcome to episode 87 of the PoddyC. This week we've got a new patch just on the horizon, but just on the horizon of the horizon is Gamescom, where they're going to announce Midnight and do the cinematic and everything, and show us a lot about that. Which obviously we aren't going to be able to talk about when it actually is about to happen and when it does happen, because we're going to be all busy with the new patch and the race and stuff. So we figured we'd start this week by talking a little bit about Midnight, uh, and sort of what we think will be happening in it versus what we think should slash what we hope will be happening in it. I think starting off with like class design, talent design, hero talents. So we got obviously the huge talent rework in Dragonflight. Then we got the hero talent system in War Within. So what can, will, or should they do next is the question, which I will start by posing to you guys. What do you think? What do you think will
Well,
happen for Midnight?
before even like trying to guess what, let's just do you think they will? Like I know they're doing housing, right? And that's this huge thing. I think it's probably going to end up being their main feature of the expansion. Do we think that that means we might get less on the like we're all expecting so Dratnos laid it out, right? In Dragonflight we got the new talent trees. In this expansion we got the hero talents. They've all gotten better since they've come out, but they are what they are. Where we've played with them for a while. Are we going to get something of that level in this next expansion? I think the first question would be: do you think that housing is going to let them either get away with, or is taking so much effort that they won't do something like that? They remember they said you guys are going to have to lose a raid tier to get housing. They said that for the longest time in defense of like why they wouldn't do it. But also thinking about it, do those people have the same jobs? Like people who are, I mean, the artists do. Like people who are designing the art for the houses are the same people, I assume, that are like creating the art for the raid and stuff like that. But that's not true with talents. That's not true with making talent. I think that the talent tree stuff is largely like class designers, but I don't know why they would have anything to do with houses. So I don't. Do you guys think that we might not get something as big as those two in the next expansion?
So I would say whenever it comes to a new expansion, by far the number one most important thing, no matter what expansion it is how your class plays. And I just don't know what direction they go from there. Because so when they first introduced hero talents, they mentioned not wanting like the hero talents to have too much of an impact, right? I kind of vaguely remember them saying something along the lines of that, like how
Maybe we could get
hero.
a quote. I'm actually interested.
Yeah,
I actually don't
yeah.
remember what they said, but because remember before they announced hero talents, we were like, okay, well, the whole bit with talent trees was they were supposed to be evergreen, but then we kind of all just assumed they were going to just throw like an extra 2 rows of talents at the bottom, which would make it exactly not evergreen. It's like you're adding on to it, right? So then I guess hero talents kind of were that with the interesting spin that like you could choose between a couple of them. That was, I mean, that was basically I think the way they thought they could do that.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to change your gameplay too much, right? Because like they already had the talent tree, the Dragonflight talent tree, and if they were just to compound that with hero talents, like suddenly adding multiple new abilities or whatever it may be, that'll just be like too much for the players, right? And that's something they wanted to avoid.
Yeah, like very clearly when you look at the hero talents, they are not trying to add a lot to like how many buttons you need, right? Most of them add 0 keybinds to your spec, and some of them add 1. But like
Hmm.
they do have a large impact on the throughput of every spec, right? If you look at
And
the
the talents you
source,
play.
yeah, exactly. Like they'll adjust like your build, but also it's definitely true that if you look at it, it's like 40% of your damage or whatever is coming from your hero talent tree or something at this point. But I'm not sure that that goes against their goal or anything. I think those two, like their goal could be just to have low, not add to like the button blow to the game, even if they are impactful in terms of how much you notice them and how much of your damage they are.
But that's what makes this so interesting because, like, where do you even go from here? Or do
Hmm.
you continue adding to the classes like in Midnight? Do you just give players more talent points, extend the tree, or add another different like system on top of this? Say, like, I don't know. I don't even know what it would be. Or do you just do nothing with the classes? And I feel like both directions kind of suck, right? Because like if you do nothing, then if your class plays exactly the same as how it does right now, like imagine going to a new expansion. That's like one of the worst feelings, right? Like you definitely want your class to be revitalized in some way. At least that's how I've always felt whenever it comes to a new expansion. I mean, like they used to be a lot more drastic about this. I feel like before Legion, you would always look forward to like how exactly your class plays for the next expansion. But ever since I want to say BFA, maybe they started to like make less and less changes to each class, and most of the classes I play nowadays are like very similar to what they played back in say BFA or Shadowlands. But you can't really say the same about like Mob. Like Boomkins, for example, they changed the Eclipse system multiple times, and that class is like drastically different.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. Like, I feel like they can't just do another big thing to classes next. I feel like they're probably going to take at least an expansion off of doing something like huge in the scale of even hero talents, or especially the Dragonflight talent rework. That just seems unrealistic to me. Like
Yeah.
not because of housing or anything, but just like I don't know. I feel like just doing that every expansion, like how what especially because they're also doing so much work to keep rebalancing all the stuff. I think I don't know. I think that if there's something, it'll be like a small twist or evolution of the hero talents, like that kind of thing.
Same. Yeah, I think they're definitely going to cook hero talents more maybe than the base trees. I guess maybe the question is, do you guys think there needs to be stuff added? Like we've talked about recently where they kind of, mob talent trees is kind of close to what you have now. You have about like the same amount of decisions maybe, but like why did they move away from that kind of thing? It actually made me think of Hearthstone. This is going to be you're going to have to follow me a little bit here. But did you guys play Hearthstone when it came out, or I guess past that point? Like, are you, either of you Hearthstone enjoyers?
Yeah, I played a
I've never
decent
played
on and off
myself.
amount over the years.
You said you didn't play it yourself, Dorky?
Yeah, that's actually one of the few Blizzard games I've never played, which is kind of weird because I've played almost
Okay.
every other Blizzard game.
Okay, I was really excited when Hearthstone Classic initially came out because I just remember I had a little nostalgia. It was like an era on Twitch and everything. I wasn't a streamer then, but I followed it, and I just loved the game. And it hadn't gotten like super crazy yet. It was, mostly a battle of attrition and value, which I think is like when card games are at their most fun. And then as the game went on, it got, in my opinion, like a lot more like RNG and just like a million things are spawning, a little bit harder to follow. And then I remember when Classic came out and I was like, dude, I'm like so looking forward to this because I wish the game was always like this. I remember talking to like a developer guy and he's like, it's weird. Sometimes you need to change things just for the sake of change. Like you could say that Hearthstone Classic when that battle of value and attrition was the best thing in the game. Like that was the most fun. But you can't keep it like that forever and keep your game alive. You have to innovate. You have to try new things. You have to you have to cook, as they say. And a lot of that did lead to it feeling a lot different, but it also would have been a worse decision to just keep it like that forever, especially with the fact that you can bring it back. So that I was thinking about that more with talents, right? Like with mob talents kind of being what they were. And we talked about like, yeah, there's the leveling side of it where like it feels a lot better now than in mob talents where you can just like get every time you level up, you get a thing, which is like pretty important to like classic World of Warcraft. And I think just important in MMOs in general. It's a good feeling. It's something that was bad about the mob trees. But we didn't feel like at endgame it really changed much. And even them rebuilding everything just kind of introduced a lot of problems. So like, should they have done that in the first place? And the answer is like you kind of just have to cook, and even if it doesn't work. And they've been going through this cycle of like making something in this game and it ends up being pretty good years later, but it like takes a while to do that. And I wonder how much far they had a setback by just doing them out like the new talent trees in general. And then going forward, how much do you need to keep cooking before you maybe cut bait? And I don't really think they can go back, but like feel like it's complete. I don't know, like just going forward, if we got something like the Dragonflight trees or the hero talents, something like that every expansion for the next, just make it up, 4 or 5 expansions, right? Can you even imagine what that looks like compared to now? It's just so much iteration. Like how much did they touch the mop trees from 2011 to I think 2011, 2012, whenever that came out? Like until when did they Dragonflight 2020 something? How much iteration was done to the mop talent trees? Honestly, not a lot, right? Like it was mostly the same thing for like years. And in a way that was fine. Some of the best expansions that ever existed in WoW existed during that time of like completely not touching those things, right? But I'm not arguing whether they should have done it or not, but I don't know. That's what I think. Like going forward, like do you need to heavily invest in the talent trees? If you're talking about dorky, the best thing to do is to just play your character. I think for people like us, we don't represent all WoW players, but absolutely like class gameplay within like your role, like how good all the classes play is like everything to us, right? And is the game even in need of changing talents from what they are right now, or just continuing to make whatever we have better?
Well, so I don't think it necessarily needs to be talents that need to change. It could be other things, right? I mean, I first of all, like I completely agree. I do think the game can't just your class just can't play exactly the same from an expansion to expansion. I do think there needs to be something that changes it up. Like Legion, for example, we had artifact weapons that completely changed how your class play, and it was just like a completely new system on top of that. But BFA came around, and then there's like artifacts, or not artifacts. The artifacts went away, and they gave
Azerite.
us Azerites, and
Oh, the
eventually we got
necklace.
all those other stuff,
That's true,
right?
yeah.
Like
It's like
like
expansion to expansion, distinctly different play styles because of all these systems that were added into the game.
right, and those systems were gameplay changing, right? Like it wasn't just something that gave your class 10% more damage or whatever it may be, right? Like it actually changed how your class functioned. Same with like Shadowlands, we got Covenants, that was like pretty drastic. And then Dragonflight, obviously, we got the Dragonflight talent trees, and the hero talent trees were like not as much of a change because I have heard a lot of people say War Within does feel like Dragonflight 2.0, which is kind of true, right? Like the game does feel largely the same as what it was last expansion, and that's why I'm like wondering what exactly will happen for next expansion. Are they just gonna do maybe like more of like a Dragonflight 3.0, or is it just gonna be more of War Within, like exact same, or are they just not gonna change anything at all? Yeah. So I have no idea what the right direction is because it's like Drano said, right? Like you can't really compound systems on systems. That's just gonna create this convoluted mess that we've been dealing with in retail. So I don't know the exact answer. It's just something to think about.
Yeah. I don't know. My hot take is the mop. I guess we've talked about this before, but like I I kind of think after you look at it, the mop talent system was just like a better scaffolding for endgame than the Dragonflight one. But the thing
Mhm.
that has made the Dragonflight one, I think, better over the past 3 years has been that they have actually like patched it aggressively, and they've been
Instead of
tweaking.
leaving it
Right,
alone
yeah,
for
because
like
like you
10 years.
said, a lot of the mop ones stayed the same for a lot of years. But there is some tension between those two things, right? Like we talk about there being these times where there's well designed classes versus badly designed ones. And I think it's easier to have a well designed class if you don't have to touch it with balance patches every couple of months, right? Like if it has to keep changing, then it's also hard for it to be like the
But
sick
that's
best
boring though,
version of
right?
anything, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
it's like it's
it gets
again.
pretty easy.
I'm not arguing for one side or the other. That I'm just saying like
Right.
there is a downside to keeping things constant. I don't know. I guess to me, the one thing I'm hopeful for in next expansion is I don't know. We've had to talk about borrowed power before, and I know there's been like impactful and divisive borrowed power systems. I would like to go back in that direction, or at least to not do these like delve belts and Cersei's circlets and these stupid like they're
Just like
equally
passives.
powerful, but they're just no fun or interestingness to them
Yeah,
whatsoever
they're
these
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
things.
They're nothing compared to like
Yeah.
the essences and corruptions of the borrowed power world.
Yeah. So I would be I would like to try that again next expansion with some because my problems with those have usually just been that they've made the acquisition suck on those systems. But if they just didn't do that, I think
Well,
that could be the vibe.
mhm. Also, the thing that largely defined the borrowed power era of this game wasn't actually like what's the first thing you think about? It's not the things that we really like. It's not essences or corruption, right? It is artifact and Azerite power. It was the infinitely grindable thing that you could do outside of content all the time. I don't think that should come back, but I think you could easily add a lot of those other things without that. So I agree with you. Also, like the whole like changing the way your class plays, I find that to be kind of polarizing because like going into certain patches, that's kind of what tier sets have done in the past. And I think you've seen massive hit and misses. Like if your specific class, it does change the way you play, but it's not in the best way,
Mhm.
then you're kind of like, I don't really like that concept. I kind of like the version of the class that I play, and I know I can log in and enjoy every patch, and like changing it all the time is so like polarizing. I don't know if I like that. And the thing that the borrowed power expansions did was it wasn't a one-off tier set thing. They were kind of like committing to a play style for each spec at the beginning of the expansion, and then you just kind of had to make it work. Tier sets, if they get one wrong tier set, they can kind of just be like, we'll like fix it next patch. But for the player, you kind of fuck it up for a whole season. But like why it was never really controversial in those expansions is you couldn't let it be bad, because you just can't let a class be not have its bit be fun the whole expansion.
Yeah, it's like
But you're
hero
right.
talents, right? Like there's no class except for Rogue that just has 3 hero talents that are boring and suck all expansion. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I think going down that line makes it so, yeah, it is different, but it's different in a way where it's actually pretty fun. And they have to make sure that it's good. At least it seemed like the quality was higher. I don't think you're wrong also, Dorky. Like if you look at what it felt like to go from Legion to BFA, or even BFA to Dragonflight, those were all just like distinctly different. Dude, going from BFA to Dragonflight, or Shadowlands to Dragonflight was crazy, because you like the first time you're interacting with that talent tree, you were able to pick things that were on the same row in the mop talent trees for like 10 years for the first time. Like that was massively different. But you're right, the hero talents, in being a little bit more passive, are also like kind of innately less interesting, right? Because at least expansion to expansion, it does, though you saying it feels like Dragonflight 2.0. I mean, I feel like the War Within is Dragonflight 2.0. Like if you
Yeah, it
look at the
really is.
way what expansions do, like Legion was trying to do something totally different than BFA. BFA was trying to do something totally different than Shadowlands, and then Dragonflight was trying to do something totally different than Shadowlands, right? But the War Within is not trying to do anything really differently than Dragonflight. They're like even word for word saying we're just building on what we did,
Yeah.
right?
Like
But I imagine
the only place
Go
it
ahead.
changed is like the story, right? But aside from that, it doesn't represent any like the core gameplay. They're basically like, yeah, we like what we did with Dragonflight. We're running it back.
Yeah, not to mention this, we're in the middle of a trilogy of expansions, or about to be in the middle of it. You assume they're going to try to do some hype ass shit during that. And they mentioned Dragonflight in this expansion as like, as we're calling it, Dragonflight 2.0, is a rebuilding expansion. The whole premise of rebuilding, whether it's in sports or I guess anything, is you don't want to do it forever. You're in a rebuild phase because you want to end up
Built.
getting everything at its baseline good, and then you want to kind of grow from that, right? And move on and going back to doing what you were doing, or like improving in other ways. So I guess maybe the question is, are we done building the baseline of the game? We like completely rebuilt professions, we rebuilt the talent trees, we everything they did in the last 2 expansions, the UI, major emphasis, right? Like, are we at the point where that is still being worked on, but we're not doing a Dragonflight 3.0? I think all of us would probably say we'd rather not have a Dragonflight 3.0 and rather them be a little bit more creative.
Yeah, I mean, Dranos is right. It is definitely a worry because one thing Blizzard has done a really good job with this expansion in particular is balance. Like, regardless of how much people complain and whine about god comps or whatever it may be, the balance has been better than almost ever before. And I think that's largely due to the classes just not changing too much. Because, like, usually what Blizzard
Definitely.
does is they make it extremely hard for themselves to balance this game. Like, they've added so many different factors to this game, whether it's like hero talents or like tier sets and the types of different damage profile, different types of cooldowns. It just becomes literally impossible to balance because you're changing shit all the time. But if you keep things relatively the same, then it becomes a much more manageable product. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, like, there's the whole fun concern. It's like when you were saying how BFA to Shadowlands felt really different. I really felt that. I remember playing Shadowlands beta, and I remember getting so excited over just everything that I was doing in Shadowlands. And
Yeah,
like, yeah, I
Covenant.
mean, like Shadowlands sucked, right? Because like everyone didn't like how Shadowlands played, but at the same time, I just remember being like a Blood DK, a Night Fate Blood DK, and that was like that was fucking sick. Like that was so fucking cool.
Well,
Like
I mean, the
it,
reason
it
that
was
people were mad was because of how much they cooked. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like no one's mad that you can't change covenants if all the covenants weren't really fucking cool and you wanted to do that, because they gave you a bunch of different options that you didn't have previously.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, they just don't really have that excitement anymore. They don't really change classes, and there's like something for you to like really look forward to. But that
But
also
maybe
begs
it's
me another
time.
question. would would it be okay if they went back on certain classes, like went back in class design? Say like Havoc Demon Hunter, for example. What if they just like went back to Legion DH, because that is like a form of Demon Hunter that a lot of people were very fond of, right? Or even like BFA Demon Hunter for some people, the no mover, or Rogues, right? Like Rogues right now, a lot of people miss
Yeah,
the old
rogues are
Rogues. So
unhappy. That's a class that has been like kind of felt like it hasn't been focused on a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
like would that be bad for Blizzard to go back on class design? Because with Mob Classic coming out, a lot of people have been talking about how like, oh man, this class or that class feels amazing to play. Like, how bad is it for
Mhm.
Blizzard to just go back on some of these classes?
I think
Well,
Because
doing
that has
like a
also changed the game, right?
full revert on anything is pretty much is not
never gonna
something they would
happen.
ever do. But I do think like doing a redesign to try and recapture some of the stuff that people liked about older versions of stuff is definitely
Well,
allowed.
I think they're constantly in a cycle of trying to do that, right?
Yeah, they, like that is something they every patch they do that for Shadow Priest. It hasn't worked yet, but at some point it might.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like they're constantly in a like think about even Havoc Demon Hunter, right? Like even within this whole Dragonflight 2.0 saga, we've gone from like bringing momentum back to basically killing it just within 2 expansions. Now, that's not bringing it exactly back to like Dratnos said, they're never going to be like, you know what, Havoc was great in Legion. Now with let's navigate getting them exactly back to that point. I think it's always like a constant moving target of like what are the pain points right now and where can we be, and probably some overall vision of how it plays. But like they've done that with a lot of classes, and even especially in Legion. What I loved about Havoc in Legion was actually momentum bloodlet, which is something they just killed. Not the bloodlet. They have a bunch of like, you know, in quotes, bloodlet talents that enable you to like throw glaive and it matter and making it free and all that stuff just happen when you blade dance. But it's the momentum part like they've decided to kill. The same thing with like Frosty K in Legion was awesome too. But like Breath is dead forever now. They've killed Breath. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing for, I mean, I hate it, but Frosty K's might like it. I just feel like class design is an ongoing process. I wonder actually we should maybe even tell from our viewers. Like I wonder what class the most, or maybe group of classes is like, it's not nostalgia, and I can explain to you why, but our class used to be so much better and now it's bad. And I wish they would go back to that. And they gave, you know, and it was like if you had all of these people vote, it would be like a widely seen opinion. Because I know there's like the high end of the game and the low end of the game oftentimes don't necessarily agree on those things, but you hear it repeated so much in your stream chats that you just assume the amount of people you hear from are like the objectively correct ones. Breath is like a huge one there. If I talk to my stream, everyone's a fan of Breath, but like if you talk to the average Frosty K, that is not true. So like I wonder what classes that would actually apply to, because so many are so different from what they were
Definitely
then.
Rogue. I think it's like Rogue for the general public, Havoc for, it depends on which iteration, and
Feral for the
Warlock probably.
like
Oh yeah, Feral for
snapshotting.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, snapshotting. Well, I mean, Feral's had one of the only classes actually to have snapshot elements
Hmm.
in their kit. But yeah, I mean, they were the class that had the biggest dots that if you could snapshot them, you got the biggest benefit from it.
Feral
Yeah.
doesn't definitely doesn't feel like a bleed spec nowadays. It feels very much like bite oriented,
Bro,
which
it's literally
it's just
assassination
not.
rogue.
Yeah, it's just not nearly as fun as what it
Rake is
should have been.
garrote, the rip is rupture, and then you ferocious bite is a vis, and you just spam that shit. It's the same. They made it the same spec. It was one of the worst decisions they've made in a while.
Here's my question is, okay, like obviously they have to do stuff every expansion, right? Like they have to, you can't just not do anything, then people will be like, what's the point, why am I buying this, nothing has happened. I think that was a big like casual criticism, or not casual but like medium investment player criticism of like WAD, right? Was they kind of didn't do anything new that expansion, right? um could they get away with doing that if they did it in an expansion with housing and all this other stuff, right? Like, okay, you have Silvermoon gets attacked or whatever we're assuming maybe happens, and like you've got this big story stuff going on, you're reworking some part of the world like that, like you introduce player housing. Is all of that enough to then not have to actually do something on the order of like a hero talent size thing to
No,
classes? or do you still have to do that, or else people will call it, a dead expansion?
No, they'll
That's
call it.
something. I mean, I think that's something that will like capture players' attention, but it's not something that will keep players.
Well, I really wondered why the War Within didn't pop off, because I had this theory. Part of it was dumb, where it's just like you looked at that graph they had from that one convention, and it just showed like the big spikes, and it was basically like every other expansion or every 3. It's like people just collectively have this feeling like, oh, it'd be cool if I played a WoW expansion again, and you just kind of need time away from it, kind of like an ARPG season. And I was like, okay, it didn't really pop off. And like, I feel like now that we're talking about this, it gives me a little bit of clarity, because like it was still like not entirely in the COVID era, but still like retained a lot of COVID. Like I remember when we had Dragonflight talent trees and everything, like that beta cycle was crazy for viewership because everyone was playing Shadowlands and COVID. And even though that expansion went awry in a lot of ways, they were still paying attention to news. They were still invested. And then going into War Within, it was like peak investment, right? Like right into Amir Drasil, they had the BlizzCon where they announced the World Soul Saga, and the hype for the World Soul Saga was like all-time high. You saw crazy numbers in season 3, like historic stuff. So that all that hype was there, and then the War Within just didn't really catch on that much. And I really wonder now. Part of what we care about is like just the gameplay, and who knows how many people think just like us. But I'd like to agree with what you said earlier, Dorky, about how the most important thing is just how your class plays and how interesting and maybe different it is. I wonder if the fact that this was Dragonflight 2.0 was why the beginning of the World Soul Saga didn't like super pop off, because it's kind of the only expansion maybe in WoW's history. I don't want to go back too far, but certainly in the last 10 years, it's like just before Legion, where from expansion to expansion, what you were doing was not majorly different. Like hero talents, again, were not majorly different from the talent trees we had already or how you interacted with them. But like every other expansion was just huge, like massive. Some of them didn't hit, Legion to Azerite armor didn't hit, but BFA cooked throughout its time. I wonder if really it was just the collective feeling was, this is just, people played the first 2 weeks, the first bit of season 1, and they're like, I've done this before. This isn't, I don't have these new crazy things going on. So yeah, you guys have convinced me. I think if Blizzard's doing anything, rip some fucking, let's go back to borrowed power, just exclusively without artifact power grinding. I'm down. I think the game needs to feel different next expansion.
My question is like, how many of the people that look at War Within and are like, oh, this isn't interesting or cool enough, how many of them would have been sold if the story was more like appealing to them? Because War Within had a story or whatever, but like it sort of does the same old thing that WoW always does of like, oh, there's a new island, go explore the new island and kill its denizens or whatever, right? But if it was like a Wrath of the Lich King level, compelling story to people that have played some Warcraft 3 or people that like,
isn't that what they're trying to build up to?
I think so, yeah, but I think it didn't happen in War Within. Like, yeah, but maybe it doesn't. So maybe if Midnight comes in and it has that, something, Silvermoon is under attack or whatever, and you've got the elves, everybody loves elves or whatever, and also player housing is there, and also the classes are good, even if they haven't changed too much from War Within. I wonder if those 3 things would connect with enough separate sets of the audience. Like each person, probably at least one of those things sounds pretty great to everybody, even if it's not all of them. I don't know.
No, so I thought about it a little bit, and I think this is why player housing wouldn't be enough, because of delves. I mean, maybe I could be completely wrong about this, but I feel like delves have been kind of a failure of this expansion. Delves didn't really hit. I mean, we don't even ever really talk about delves. Like, delves are nice, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people out there do delves and they probably enjoy them, but it really didn't hit with the mass audience. It's not something that kept players playing. The fact that people don't even talk about delves anymore is kind of telling, and that's kind of how I see player housing too. Like, it's gonna be something that'll draw players in, and it'll be for sure good for the game, but it's not something that will keep players playing.
My suspicion is that delves could succeed or fail and would look pretty similar to us either way. Like
yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like
he's saying that
we aren't the people who are gonna know if it's like if Monster Trucks has a killer year or not. we're not the people who are going to know that, and like our friends aren't going to be the ones.
That's such a
like
good
we're not
Hey
here.
man, how you know I'm not into that?
I'm taking a wild guess here. If you're a monster truck head, then you got me. My analogy is going to crumble.
You know, I mean, so we've said that a lot about delves, but like, you know, I remember Growl saying this a lot too. Then who is it for, right? Because there's definitely not been a whole lot of buzz around it. So
yeah,
like,
it's
I'm
like
sure there
people
are
that
players who
never
enjoy it.
watch World of Warcraft Twitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Twitch
That's
streams,
that-
right?
Yeah, but like, how are we are no more in touch with those people
Right.
now than we were a year ago. So like, it's just the whole like, we're a streamer and trying to get consensus from the community, but there's you know, potentially this really massive part of the community you don't really hear from, but you also can never really confirm that. You know, there's no, it's just kind of, you just assume that it's there.
But if on the other hand, if this expansion hasn't popped off in like the metrics, which I don't know if there's are there published like subscriber numbers anywhere or anything that
they haven't done that for a couple years. They did it at that one convention where they loosely kind of showed that, but no, I don't think so.
It was BlizzCon,
yeah,
right?
so
actually, let me even know it wasn't BlizzCon.
No, it was another convention.
Unless we get that, I guess there's kind of no way to really test that hypothesis at all. We just kind of have to guess and go off of the one or two comments here or there of like,
well, all we can
I love
say,
Delves, or I hate him.
Well, maybe not all we can say, but we can confidently speak for people that play the game like us, or for ourselves. And I think that at least for us, Delves were certainly, I would say, a failure, and not like most things where like, oh, they create it and then 2 years later it gets better. That's true, but I don't think even 2 years from now any of us are going to be like Delve Zone. I think it's clearly was maybe never designed for us, certainly, but even the part they I think did try to design for, or if there was any part of it that was geared towards us, it was that little Zekvir final delve. Like I believe they literally used the words Mage Tower like challenge at the end of every season you can look forward to, and I think that's like definitely not hit. So, but who knows? Maybe, I mean, we'll be able to tell, I think, going into next expansion if they're like heavily iterating on delves. I think that kind of tells you that like enough people care about them to, it's not like Warfronts and where they just instantly killed that shit, right? They were like, okay, this didn't work. If they're like still heavy cooking on delves and they announce the expansion, I would assume that a lot of people are doing them and are, I mean, of course they're doing them. Like if it's whether they like them, you know, because like there's a reason for a community to do them, especially ones that don't do a lot of keys or raid. That's like kind of the point. But that depends whether they actually and actively like doing them or not. You know, I don't know how they're getting that feedback. We never hear from them. Maybe they do.
I mean, one thing I do hear a lot is they always talk about the rewards behind delves, but not necessarily the gameplay itself. It's always like, oh yeah, delves are great. You know, they actually give us hero track loot or whatever it may be, but it's never, oh, the content itself is like super fun and amazing. It's always just the rewards.
But basically, I mean, that is important though, right? Like having a way for
it is important
who
for
play
sure,
the game
but
without any friends, without being good at the game, to actually get some decently good gears.
I do think it also matters too, though, like for it to be fun while you're reaping the rewards.
I mean, I agree.
It's
like
you know,
the way of making it fun. There were versions of delves they could have made that would have been fun or interesting for us, that would have resembled more, you know, the Mage Tower or even Horrific Visions, those kinds of things. And that's not this. I will say, from like reading Reddit or Twitter or whatever, the biggest complaint that I've seen about delves from people that do them has seemed to be that the underpin fight is too hard. Like the end boss underpin thing.
So that is fascinating. I think, okay, that proves the whole, like, the majority of people that delves are made for are people we never hear from, because I was just saying, and it seemed like you all agreed in consensus, that it wasn't really that good, and it's because it's not challenging enough.
Yeah.
Right? That's our take. And if the majority of the complaints are it's actually too hard, just shows that, at least for the delve audience, we're just, which we expected, we're just totally not. We don't get it.
All right, I've just searched on the WoW Reddit the word underpin, sorted by relevance. The top one is, why is question mark underpin so fucking ridiculous? The second one is, I've beat the underpin, but he's the most frustrating encounter in the game. The third one is, struggling with underpin? Save yourself some stress and do it as a blood DK. It's easy, which that is actually very true. It's a lot easier that way.
Have you done it, Dratnos?
Yeah. I've done it on a lot of different, like on 5. I've done it as a DPS and then a few different tanks. Because I have this thing where if there's a quest in my quest log and it's annoying me, I like getting rid of it, and I need quest log space sometimes. So I did that.
Oh, I leave that shit up, and it bothers the hell out of you.
Yeah, that bothers me too, and I don't want to abandon it, so I just go do it. And yeah, so it's like there is a lot of uh there are a lot of complainy posts about it on the WoW Reddit. So that's my hypothesis there.
I'm gonna chat GPT this. What is the consensus on delves?
Random side note: I've never typed anything on purpose into AI ever. Like you just said, I'll type this into ChatGPT. I don't even know how you do that.
Bro, I've been using this so much this past week. I never used this shit before, but like I started using this a bunch.
Dude, have you seen the
Sometimes it
things with
spits out
like
complete nonsense, but sometimes so useful.
the way that the AIs are working right now? They're like super sycophants, right? Where they're just like, wow, that's so smart and insightful. I think you've really nailed it. And then they just always like hype up whatever you said and agree with you. And there's like,
Dude, that's what I need. A yes man.
yeah,
Let's
exactly.
go.
But it's like apparently doing a lot of damage to some people. Like there are people that are basically getting one shot by that, and
Yeah, of course.
putting
Because like, I
relationship
mean,
advice or whatever into it, and then just like, oh yeah, see, it says I'm right about
of
this, and
course
then they
I'm
just
right.
like divorce their
Yeah,
wife.
to validate your terrible. Yeah, no. I mean, if you the only people I know that I see in my daily life that use AI are like Twitter users, and they'll basically just see a very cut and dry news article, and then they can't actually read it or reason or anything like that. And just in the comment section, they're like, "At Grok, what does this mean? At Grok, is this true?" Right? And then obviously you know so many people on Twitter and all social media are just either willingly or unwillingly in an echo chamber already and just getting their own ideas validated and throwing out anything that makes them uncomfortable. And if the AI is doubling down on that, like, yo, you're so right, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that is actually, I feel like that could do serious, well, maybe serious long-term damage, but I don't know if it's long-term, if it's damage that hasn't already been done or isn't have been happening for a while. But
Yeah, so here's what I've got. This sounds like Dratnos right now. Maybe Dratnos is just really right about everything.
Maybe I'm just the human version of ChatGPT, where I just come up with the thing that sounds good to say to most people.
the fence sitter.
Yeah, exactly. What does it say though? Okay.
Overwhelming consensus is that, yeah, you can read it.
No, you read it. I always read stuff. You can read stuff.
Okay, delves are a valuable and much needed addition to World of Warcraft, especially for its large solo and small group player base. So it's good. However, the execution has room for improvement, particularly regarding rewards, scaling for higher solo tier, increased mechanical depth, and refinement of difficulty scaling beyond just raw numbers, which is like partially what we've said about delves, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess
mean,
Dratnos particularly.
W clankers. They got it right. Yeah, they that being said though, I imagine how AI works, at least where you're looking at it right now, is they scour the internet and like
Yeah,
and then they summarize. And I
forums
think
and
the
Reddit and stuff.
majority of delve stuff, that sounds like people's take on delves like before the expansion came out. Like, here's what theoretically delves should be for the game, and it kind of just said that. And I think that's when the most discourse happened. So that would heavily weigh the opinion of that. I'm not sure. Do we need an AI to, like, wherever this group of people that we cannot interact with and they want totally different things out of the game from us, I need an AI to get in there wherever the fuck that is and then like summarize how they're that would be so fucking helpful for us to summarize how they're feeling, because they're just like this group of people we never see or hear from.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him, what do mole people think about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Think about delves.
I think, yeah, I mean, you're definitely right, Max, that there was a set of people that decided they liked delves before they ever played one. And then,
Yeah, just by the concept.
Yeah, just because the concept sounded good. But I think those people, if it had sucked, if it had been like Warfronts level bad, would have turned on it. At least most of them would have, maybe. Maybe not, because maybe the rewards are there. I don't know.
The little I remember hearing from those people was like first season, when I remember vividly one day on stream, I was just like, yeah, guys, so delves didn't hit, huh? At the beginning of like season 1, which was probably when they were at their worst. And they were like, nah, dude, I fuck with delves. They're like, I totally get it. This is, I play like solo and it's like easier to do than dungeons. And I was like, oh shit. And I haven't talked about it since, but I remember feeling pretty confident that they were all going to agree with me. And they were like, no, actually, these are nice.
Dude, there's an official definition for the term mole people in World of Warcraft community. Generally refers to players who primarily engage with solo or very small group content, often preferring to avoid the social pressures and complexities of traditional endgame activities like raid, M+, and structured PvP. This isn't derogatory
That's
within the community, but rather a playful and sometimes self-depreciating way to describe players who burrow into less visible, more independent playstyles.
Well, is that actually? I think that's what mole people ended up meaning, but I don't think that was the initial reason for mole
Probably
people
that.
existing at all.
Growl invented the term, right?
Yeah.
I think so, but if I remember, it is people who do not want to be challenged. It's like the way that just described it was just like I think what most people would refer, and it's a very subjective term, but like most people would refer to as just a casual player, right? But I think mole people was like, under no circumstances do I want to be
It is.
challenged. I like to play games and never be challenged ever, which is not true of most casual players, in my opinion. Like, I think some people want the challenge just be adequate to them, which is usually where there's friction between hardcore players. But the idea that no one would ever want anything of challenge, like most people playing a game like to get challenged at whatever level it is that is comfortable for them, and then they overcome it. Who knows?
Wow. Some discussions on Reddit mentioned PoddyC, a WoW podcast, using the term and also debate whether it's used derisively or descriptively.
Yeah, as we're doing right
Yep,
now.
W.
It knows.
Yeah, I had thought that I thought his original bit when talking about it was like, I don't know any of these people. I don't know if they exist. So they're kind of like mole people, and
Yeah, there are these people who've been living under the
exactly
earth.
Like they're people that have been invisible to me. But it's nice because it's a great term because it could mean any of those things or all of them. Yeah, that's great. Really genius.
It didn't make the people as mad either. It became a meme. Like specifically, I think civilian is something similar to that, but specifically that term civilian has made people so mad. Like there's been even podcast episodes of us where we have just mentioned that word in passing, and it actually just dominated the comment section because the perceived intent of that is to be extremely rude or derogatory towards casuals. I think is like the general idea, even though that's not really what that means. But we were just civilian just is a word that makes the people not happy.
It's a good word.
Yeah, it's nice. It hits a couple of because then you also get the like veterans coming in being like mad about using the word civilian.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I saw one comment that was like that was from that perspective.
Okay, so what is the best way of describing a person who's a civilian? Because I mean, if you call them casuals, that's like derogatory. If you call them noobs, that's derogatory.
Why is casual derogatory?
Well, because for the longest time, it's like you're either a real player or a hardcore player, or you're just like a filthy casual. It's definitely been a
filthy. The word filthy adds some
description. I mean, all right, yeah. Oh, sure, but I mean, there's a reason why it was filthy, right?
I guess I'm just like if someone like I play some games casually, like I load up fucking Mario Kart on the Switch, and I'm not like jumping off walls. Like, bro, the skill ceiling in that game is crazy, but I can still enjoy just like playing it. I would definitely say, because I can play other games not casually, I'm playing that game casually. If someone were to say you're a casual at Mario Kart, I'd be like, you are right. Like, that is accurate. That is a true statement. If someone plays WoW for a lot of, even potentially a lot of time a week, I guess this goes into how subjective the term casual even is, because like there are casuals who play the game a lot more than us, but they don't rate at a high level or do dungeons at a high level. They're just collecting and like they just fucking love the game, right? Is that casual? Is casual determined by how high level of you play or how many hours you play, right? There's multiple things there, but like I think a lot of people that like don't care about being good, log in whenever. Like if you called them a casual, that would just be like kind of like an accurate description. I just don't know where the negative connotation necessarily came from.
Yeah, well, because that's some people mean it that way, and then so if you say it and you don't mean it that way and you mean something else in your head, you're like, oh man, what I should do is I should invent a new term that means what I'm actually trying to say. And then the problem is people don't hear you explain what it means, and they just hear you use the term, and then they think in their head of what that probably means. And then they, it also has a negative connotation to them, and you can't escape it. You just have to define it every time. Yeah.
It's implied inferiority. That's why you're implying that someone is just like worse than you at the game. And if there's one thing that you can't talk about in these types of games is you can't ever talk about someone's skill level. You never want to just like bring someone down because they're not as good at the game. Now, it's like I've always said it's completely fine to suck. Like there's no problem with being bad at the game, but like in World of Warcraft, that's not okay. It's like it's part of your social tag. It's part of your social score. If you suck, you just have a lower social score than anyone else.
I guess. I think that's really interesting to me, and I've seen that what you just said confirmed a few times. Like one that I know that at least if you're more knowledgeable about the subject, this is very obvious to you, but it was just something like how I remember saying something about like how the skill level ramps just crazy high in the race as you go in like higher and higher guilds, or even just the basic sentiment that like kind of on average, if you're in a higher ranked guild, there's a chance that you're better. Not in like maybe like rank 60 to 61 or even 60 to 100, and there's the whole raid hour thing. But like generally speaking, someone who's rating in a world 500 guild versus like a world top 50, that the person world top 50 is a lot more invested, spends a lot more time, and then very naturally is just going to end up being better most of the time, right? Spending more time. Not always true, but like generally true. And then I remember talking about like the skill level at the top of the race world first, and like what we do to recruit, and like how many people are able to play at this level. And I remember just a few sentiments from chat being like, bro, you're so full of shit. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, so many people could do what you do. It's just they don't have the time. Like, if they could make your raid hours right now, they'd be just as good. All of us are that good, right? It's just they don't, and then like you just can't explain to those people what it's actually like, because they've just already decided that like skill specifically is such a touchy subject, even though it's totally reasonable to not spend nearly as much time as all the degenerates in my guild have been playing WoW all day, every day, instead of going to college or getting a job for like 8 years. Like, they should be better than you because of that. It's not an insult to your intelligence or anything like that. It's purely just time. And and I'm not even saying they're like superior to you as a person, just like specifically at this, you would assume that the skill level can go crazy if you spend a ton of time on it. But I think just you're right in the skill level thing specifically is just a really touchy subject, even if it would be totally reasonable and logical that someone would be better than you at something.
I've seen that used as authority too, because
Hmm.
whenever people talk about content creators, I usually hear this being brought up, whether it's like, say Tettles or
Oh God.
Preach or Asmongold or whoever it may be, right? Like, there's always somebody who's like, all right, that guy, they don't disregard their opinion because they suck, right?
Mhm.
Like, I've heard that so many times. It's not about like whether
Oh
or
yeah.
not they're right or they're like fine with their opinion about certain topics. It's always just like, okay, they suck at the video game, therefore there's no point in listening to them. And I've heard this regarding so many different content creators. It doesn't even matter who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's dumb too, because like I think the majority of WoW players in that description would suck, using that exact word. So wouldn't someone giving takes on the game that, as those people are describing them, sucks, whether that's true or not, wouldn't they actually be the person representing the majority of the people's interest in a way? Like, not really, but so
Yeah.
why would that immediately disqualify them, other than just being a purely elitist, like can't think any other way kind of thing?
That is a good point, and
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
why we've decided to go off the air. We've heard everybody's complaints that we are too elitist and play the game at too high of a level to actually have good takes on this, and so we agree. We're hanging it up. We're done here.
Yeah, we're done.
yeah.
And then the comments would say something like, I don't actually have an issue with what you guys say on the podcast. It's the fact that Blizzard people listen to you.
Dude, that
Like, what are
comment,
you
like,
talking-
it didn't one shot you, but it
It
came
didn't.
close.
Yeah, it came close to one shot at me. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I feel like there's to go back to your point, Dorky, about like people being bad at WoW being used to discredit them. There's definitely this thing where you sort of people there's sort of a, rather than people being good at some stuff and bad at some stuff, or like knowledgeable in some areas and not as knowledgeable in others, there's sort of this instinct that we have, especially on the internet, to sort of conflate it all together and be like, well, this person knows what they're talking about on this, therefore they probably know what they're talking about on everything, right? And or like, oh, this person said one dumb thing, or I've watched them play this video game and they sucked at it, therefore I can now ignore all of their opinions on everything else. And it's just like definitely not how it works. But the fact that a lot of people think that way makes saying somebody's bad at a video game an insult at them, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to hear that as, well, we should just never listen to this person on anything because they can't be an authority because they suck at the video game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or that like I think people have said that in terms of developers too.
Hmm.
They're like,
Oh yeah, that is actually
like
so
yeah,
true.
developers
This
definitely
guy
can't do
sucks
this
at the
because
game.
these guys fucking suck at the game. But like, I think you could, and I'm sure there's probably plenty of examples of this if we knew more people was. But there's people who are probably not good at actively playing a game and just like have genuinely high gaming skill, but are awesome at designing things and have probably created all of the classes you guys have loved and played over many years. And you don't actually have to be good at playing them to make them.
Yeah. Yeah, and not to mention, I think the average player that says that would be shocked by how many like high level players there are on a lot of dev teams and how good a lot of them actually are.
Correct.
But even then, it's definitely just not true that you have to be the best player to be a good game designer. Although there is a type of personality that I think does lead to like hubris in some game developers, where the sort of like thinks that there's no merit to being good at games, and that I see sometimes in posts from game designers that I disagree with on a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
a little bit of truth to it, maybe.
I'm sure there's been hubris with game designers in the past. Like there's people that like another statement is like devs don't play the game, they don't like their job. I would like to think that like if you guys have ever done a job and you like genuinely are not super passionate or invested in that thing, it would be so hard for you to do a good job and you would actively be looking to quit. Like I know that there's probably been people that are just like, man, I need the paycheck right now and I'm so over this. But like, I don't know, I would assume most people at a job like that don't last very long, because once you're kind of over something, you're over it. I would assume like basically the whole game, they don't even like the game thing. It's kind of insane to assume that they would continue sitting there working on it and not go work at another game or do something else if they genuinely didn't like the game that they were designing.
This actually reminds me. Do you guys remember that this was way back when Diablo 4 first came out, and they had, I think it was like the people who were in charge of art or whoever streaming, like live streaming gameplay. It was put on YouTube or some shit.
Oh
and
yes,
they got shit on from the YouTube comments. And that YouTube
that
video
was a dark
like
day.
Extremely disliked.
That one shot the fuck out of me, Dorky. I actually you just unlocked that memory for me. But I remember watching that and watching the discourse of these two artists play the game, and they had no idea how to play the game well, for sure.
Yeah, they were like completely clueless.
But why would you care? You
exactly.
Draw stuff. But like that was one of the darkest. That was a day I was ashamed and absolutely ashamed to be a gamer.
God, I wish you could find it. Did they delete that video? I don't remember.
I think they did because of the backlash they were getting. I remember something like that happened, and I remember them saying that they weren't going to do a lot more dev insight videos because of the reaction to that. And I was just like, they're not wrong for doing that. And I bet those people feel like shit. And I identify as a gamer, and today is one of those days where that feels pretty tough because that is so shitty. Or when like gamers like don't like a voice actress in a video game and send them death threats. Those are other days that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's not our finest look as gamers sometimes.
Yeah.
Not our finest hour. Actually, most times there's been some heartwarming cases of gamers in the general media, but I would say much of the time that we sort of break through into the actual non-gamer spaces, it's a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, remember when we burst onto the scene and Ninja did that New Year's Eve party?
That was a high watermark for the culture, yeah.
Yeah. That was when the world saw us coming. Gamers were rising up, so we sent them our best, Ninja. That was great.
Oh, man. Okay, do you guys want to do the Patreon question by any chance? Then see where we're at?
Yeah, there was something I saw that was kind of interesting too, but yeah, we do that first.
Okay. No, we could do your. What did you see?
Yeah. So apparently, an EU Pug rating community clears 8 out of 8 Mythic Liberation of Undermine. That's pretty hype.
Wow.
And here were the poll counts too. Mugsy 221. Holy.
So okay, first thing I'm gonna now. If this is actually, I mean, first of all, grats, right? This is okay. I already realized it's going to sound like I'm totally shitting all over this, but I've had
these
people
guys
in
suck
chat
at the game, filthy
say they were like, "Yeah, dude, we were able to pug 6 bosses." I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy!" Like, you just got. It's like, yeah, well, it was like was like 16 people went the same every week, and we replaced like 2 or 3, and I was just like, so that's just like a guild, right? But you're just calling it a pug. Like 16 people showing up every time, and you're recruiting a few. It's definitely different than like all raiding guilds. That's much closer to a guild than a pug, I think.
I'm looking at their
What's their bit?
Mugsy kill and their Gallywix kill, and there's only like 5 of the same names. Like,
Okay,
I think
I take everything back.
I think.
Well, I didn't really. I just said if that was that, it would be less impressive. But if they're legit just fucking pugging
Wait,
it,
there's literally a comment that's literally just max.
huh?
Okay, wait, look at this. It says, how many players are you guys pugging each week? If it's like 90% of players in the same week from week, you're basically a guild.
Dude, I swear to God, I did not read that. although I've had this sentiment on my stream multiple times. So or
I think it's
also not uncommon to have that take.
I think it's a good take, but I actually think this is the rare case where it's not that. Like, this is actually
5 people from the second to last boss to the last boss is certainly within the realms of being called a pug for sure.
I think it might.
That's crazy. I just wonder. I want to hear more about this. I want to know if like they get the same group for every boss and they kind of mostly keep those people together, or if it's like every night they're just like, because I think that's the pug thing, right? It's like if you log on every single raid and your raid is 15 people are new, how the fuck can you make any progression on Gallywix is one thing, but on a fight like Mugsy, that just sounds like that's just never gonna work. Especially if like, the jail people are changing like constantly. Healers, oh my god, like even just let's say you had 4 similarly skilled healers show up to every single raid, which is probably also not true for them if you were doing this. It's unlikely that would be the case. Well, let's say that's the case. Wouldn't it still be so hard to like, you can be the same skill healer, but it might take those healers an entire raid night to figure out how to heal together and heal well, right? Healing is a group thing that it's about mixing and putting things in the right spot, not just necessarily using all your stuff on cooldown. That would be a bad way to heal. So like, I think healing makes that really challenging. You'd have to like rework that every night with different healers. I mean, either way, I want to hear more. I want to see like a documentary about this, even though I'm sure there isn't one.
Yeah. It's definitely like, I would love to know how you organize that. I agree. I think like if you're at least keeping the same roster on a boss, it's easier. But if you're actually just coming in and being like, okay, we're doing Galley Prog today. Here's a new 17 people. Like, how do you actually have Prog carry over? But yeah. I think, I guess it's like if you have the raid leader, maybe a combination of like, you have a lot of gear this tier. Everybody has the 18% now. Gallywix is kind of generationally low organization requirement, right? Like, you have to figure out the overlap at the end of P1, and you have to have, 5 bomb doers that know what they're doing. But other than that, you can kind of just not stand in the circles and kill the boss. So maybe it's a combination of all of those things that make it so that, like, I guess my question is, could you do this next tier or like in the average tier, or is this something
Has this the first time it's ever happened? Has this ever happened before to our knowledge? I don't think so. I've never seen a title someone pugged the end boss in any tier. Like, that just doesn't happen.
Except for like Faded, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But like, so this is maybe the first time this has ever happened. I would say your instinct, I think, is correct, where I bet this group's raid leader is a fucking monstrous beast. Because like, if there's anything that keeps consistency from night to night with new people in any numbers, is if the calls are very consistent and good, especially on a boss that's like pretty mechanically easy, like Gallywix. I think that is probably hard carrying, and or would be necessary for this to ever work. So I would say that's pretty likely.
Yeah, very cool.
That's a cool find, Dorky.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up.
All right, let's maneuver on over to our Patreon question this week, which comes from Mercutio, and it says, "Hello, PoddyC 3. I was recently talking with a guild member about how before Legion I was a demo Warlock main since Wrath. Ever since, I've only tanked and don't touch the class due to it being completely ruined for me. I hate Legion through current demo with my whole heart. Have any of you ever experienced this where you had a favorite class, and over time, some updates just ruined it for you.
Dude, this is somehow so relevant.
Yeah,
to our
we
discussion
basically talked
earlier.
about this earlier.
Extremely relevant.
Promise we didn't
did not
pre-read.
even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. I for me, it's like, dude, I miss Ranged Survival Hunter. Although new MM has moved a little bit in that direction recently with like lock and loads and stuff, but yeah, I miss like pre-Legion serve, but it's not like I hate modern serve either. I also miss the old one. I guess like old assassination, like pre Shadowlands assassination or something. But it's not like that different. It just felt better. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like every person has this experience, right?
I have a pretty big one. It's not. I mean, I have a few specs. It's like when everyone talks about Feral with Rune of Reorigination, but Windwalker with Rune of Reorigination before they changed their mastery, and your mastery was how strong your Tiger Eye Brew was, and then you like pooled all your shit into mastery, popped Tiger Eye Brew at the very end of it, got like it used to be like a baseline like 60% damage increase. With the mastery rune shit, it would go up to like 200%. You'd pop it, that would persist, and then you get all of your crit and haste back, and you would just, it was fucking so broken. That's why they changed their mastery. That was super fun. Obviously Feral is a long-time Feral player, and that was really fun. I would say tanking. I still firmly believe that the most fun defensively tanking as a whole has ever been was with Vengeance and Mop, which often gets thrown in with like the damage, and people are just like, yeah, of course you like tanking and Mop because like you were topping meters, and that's certainly part of it. But if you're looking at it purely from a Live Lord perspective, how much agency you had over your survival, Mop is the best that's ever been. Honestly, it's not close. They even next expansion tried to do this with Resolve. They tried to make it so, hey, let's do Vengeance without the attack power increase, but purely base all their defensive healing and absorbs off of how much damage they're taking. It's just not attack power anymore. But it just wasn't the same. Like, it just simply didn't scale as well. It wasn't as OP. And maybe that wasn't healthy for the game, but purely for that time, that was the most fun it was to play that class, because you could outplay any other tank if you were better than them. You would either do more damage or be more unkillable, and they all just like the gameplay of taking the initial damage and finding a way to live and how powerful you could get after that point was just the most fun ever. And I don't think the game tanking has ever felt like that since.
Yeah, I would say the same. Like, not mob tanking because I didn't play mob tanking. Kind of wish I was playing mob classic. Kind of missing out. But,
Bro, if you're a tank and you didn't play Mop when it was live, because like now, like people are just so much better at the game anyway. But like the skill difference in tanks back then was just, I mean, it was, if you were a good player, it just felt like you were playing like a new game right when it comes out, like Apex or something, and you're just shitting on the whole lobby every game. That's just what tanking felt like if you were.
yeah, dude. I mean, rewarding tanking in general is like something that's missing from modern day tanking. I just don't feel like tanking is anywhere near as rewarding as it was for quite a while now. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different versions of tanks that I've missed. Also, like Legion Boomkin too. That one was a banger. I played Ellie Shaman a bit in WoD too. That was also a ton of fun. Yeah, there's a bunch of classes I missed.
Bro, Ellie Shaman pretty much always has been. I actually pretty confidently say that Ellie Shaman is the most well-designed, fun class to play that has like very rarely been good. You know, like if you just like change history in some random niche range spec, like let's just say Moonkin, right? Like Moonkin is one that was like super popular for a long time, so a lot of people have played it because it was good. There's a lot of Fodom rollers in this game. A lot of people haven't actually played Ellie because it's like basically never been Fodom. And I just think if you swapped those two things, I think you would just have a ton of Ellie Shaman mains right now. I just think it's like one of the coolest designs they've ever had in the game.
Dratnos, you're muted.
Yeah, you're hard muted, buddy.
You're just talking to yourself.
I muted myself, and then I forgot to unmute. Dude, I agree though. I think the there have been like 3 versions of Ellie that have just been sick over the years, right? Like, but man, what they've done with Primwave recently, I feel like that puts that spec in this list for me of just like, God, bring back old Primordial Wave. The new one is just so not it.
I mean, just the baseline gameplay of Ellie,
Yeah,
which is
it's
for the
great.
longest time has been you're like doing this single target rotation, but man, if you can throw this little flame shock on another target and start getting some more lava burst procs, that gameplay, just that basic gameplay is so smooth.
Yeah, lava burst procs are so satisfying. Like, I haven't played Ellie Shaman in expansions, so I have literally no idea what it's like nowadays. But I assume it's not anywhere near as heavy lava burst focus, right?
I haven't played in a while.
Not as much as it used to be, although not as little as it was like a year ago or whatever. Or it also depends on if you're playing Farseer or Stormbringer too. If you're playing Farseer, it's more like lava bursty, like you'd remember, and Stormbringer's more not as lava bursty, more lightningy. Yeah.
Damn. Yo, I have a question for you guys at the end of the little potty here.
Okay.
How you guys feeling right now? You guys how are you feeling as a like a WoW player and a streamer? Are you guys happy? Are you like I could see this could maybe even be kind of deep, like Dorky, are you doing this in like 3 or 4 years?
I want to say yes. I mean, I'm not a very plan ahead type of person. I'm very much in the
Same.
moments, but I want to say yes.
Yeah, it's a sweet job,
I
right?
mean,
As long as you're enjoying playing WoW, you'd like to make content out of it and make money. I mean that
yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
I want to say like with Legion Classic in the near future, that's gonna be kind of hype. But aside from that, like I have no idea what to expect in the near future.
Dude, I don't even know if I'm going to play Legion class. Like, just none of the classics. I don't know. Like, you asked me if I liked this patch. Like, yeah, I like this patch. Do I want to play it for another month? No. Did I like 7.0? Yeah, although obviously I had problems. I like 7.1, 7.2. Yeah. Would I want to play them for another month? Even though it's been 5
playing
years
it
or
again
whatever?
is different. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, for me, it's just like not enough different. I don't know. It's like, it's still, I still just can't really like it's just not new. And I just want to play the new stuff.
That's fair.
But
whenever I'm posed with the question of like, am I going to play this old expansion even when I have nostalgia for and I loved playing the game then, and I tell myself yes, when that one comes out, that specific one, I'm going to do it. I've been proven wrong like 3 times in a row now, and as much as I loved it back then, I just look at current retail as just like a better version of that, and the nostalgia doesn't win the gameplay.
I'd say they just need the quality of life retail has. Like if they can just bring all the quality of life retail has into some of these classics, that would be it for me. Because like, so like I've been following the Mob Classic thing a little bit. I haven't been playing myself. I mean, like I probably would if it wasn't for the patch coming out literally in like a week. But yeah, like just not having cross faction, not having like cross realm, not having like all these things that retail has added to the game, like ping too. Like, why is ping system not in the game? Like, I feel like all of this stuff needs to be added to make classic actually.
I mean, you know
feel
why?
really good, why?
Right? Like, I mean, okay, so I think the classic community has come way back on the no changes thing, but I think the no changes thing existing at any point and how strong of an opposition there were to any changes, Blizzard is obviously very hesitant.
Yeah, but I feel like it's only for classic. I don't feel like that applies at all for the modern classics.
Maybe they should do some surveys or something and be like, hey, would you guys like this? I still feel like maybe the average classic player, the reason why they haven't done all of that. Also, maybe it's like a framework thing. Like maybe what makes the ping system work now is because of something they added in a later expansion
That's
that just
probably what
literally
it
doesn't
is.
exist in classic, some coding shit.
Dude, I always remember the right after they did the auction house update, they like launched classic, or it was maybe TBC or something, and the auction house like sucked and broke. And I was just thinking, like, man, imagine being this person who works at Blizzard and like just does one of the people who just does all these great updates to the game, and then everybody just like clamors to go back to the old version of the game. And so you relaunch the old version of the game that has the thing you fixed, and then everybody's mad that it's not fixed in that version of the game. You're just like, man, like, come on. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's got to be infuriating.
Got to be frustrating, yeah.
Or like being a developer and you're like, I remember being actively involved in the decision when we changed this and we added the group finder and we did some kind of quality of life change. I remember why we did it and we wish we would have done it way before, and we tried to add it way before and everyone got mad just because it wasn't the way it was back then. That kind of stuff has to have kept them up at night.
Yeah, I've been playing this other game. I haven't really been playing WoW much. at
What
all.
game?
It's called Terra Online. I'm playing like a classic private server, and
I
it's
remember
been
like the old
so
MMO, like
fucking fun. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
an old MMO.
like
Yeah,
the
and I've
one
been
with
playing
like
the classic.
like rolling around and stuff. Is that in that game,
You
or
have like active block and
active block? Okay.
active dodging, iframing, and all that stuff in an MMO, and it's actually like so fucking fun. Like it's probably the most fun tanking in any MMO I've ever played. But yeah, so I've been playing that, and I've just been thinking like, man, this game plays so well, but there's also so many dog shit parts to the game that I completely forgot about. And if they could just like remove all the dog shit parts, that's kind of like how I see with Mob
That's such
Classic,
a
right?
good
Like
bit.
just fucking just give us all the quality of life stuff and just like not have all this cumbersome uh, no cross faction, no ping system, etc. And I feel like the game would just be amazing to play.
Just
So,
take out all the bad
I,
parts and make the good parts better.
Yeah.
but the thing that they can though, right? Because like they have all that retrospection and just years of development, right? Like so, surely Blizzard could do something about the new classics,
This
right?
is
Especially
okay.
when
Well, this
Legion
is
comes
coming
around.
from the perspective of like a retail player going back and playing Classic. Here's my question to you, and maybe I'll gain some insight here. But what do you think the reception is? What do you think the Wowhead comment section looks like on an upcoming new Classic expansion? And the title is Blizzard adding retail ping system to this Classic expansion. What do you think the response is to that?
I want to say it can only be positive, but knowing those creatures, it's
The
hard to
Wowhead
say.
creatures.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
like, what could possibly be negative about the ping system, right? Like, I can see if they decide to make decisions that were like very divisive, but this is kind of just a resounding W, right?
Yeah, I do think the ping system would be a fairly high approval rate thing, but I do think there'd be a set of people that would complain about any changes for sure. But
Yeah, and I think those people are why you don't see more of that. Like, to
Yeah.
answer
Well,
your
so the thing
initial
is,
question.
these classics already do that. They already made a lot of changes.
Mhm.
Like think from like Wrath of Lich King onwards, it's not actually classic. Like I heard, I don't know what exactly they've added, but stuff like Heroic Plus.
yeah, the new changing the dungeons with the like Titan Rune dungeons started in Wrath. Um and even just like deciding what patch to play the balance on. They've been like tweaking it in MOP, and they didn't just run 5.4 for everybody or 5.2 for everybody or anything. They've done like some mix and matching. So yeah, it's not full no changes like it was before, but like implementing and picking and choosing different retail features to put in Classic. I don't think you can get any of them above like 60% approval rate to put into Classic, even if individually the amount of people who would agree we should take the good parts from retail and put them into Classic is higher than that. I think any individual thing that you suggested to add, there'd be a lot of people that'd be like, no, not that one. That's not the one I meant.
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say, but
Yeah, I'd love to see
personally, I
them try
wouldn't
though. I
have.
think
Yeah.
but also I'm not a Classic player, so I feel bad about like saying what I'd like to see in Classic because I'm not going to play it anyways. Who cares?
That's true.
I have kind of a take about Wowhead because like Wowhead comments are pretty bad for most things. It seems like the overall Wowhead commenter as like a group of people is they're not happy, maybe. Wait, can you guys hear me right now?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
for some reason Dratnos' video like isn't catching up.
Oh, that's fine.
It's
Yeah,
probably it's recorded on your end.
it's recording. It's recording on the.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't like lagging out. Did you guys see the like actually read the responses to the Skarzard leaving post?
A few. Like when I
No.
first went up, I read a couple, but I didn't read too many.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it now again if I can, just to double check before my take here. But I remember it being pretty negative when I looked at it. Like, this guy. I'm just trying to see if there's any like this guy sucks angle because I remember I didn't know if that was going to happen this time, but I remembered. Remember when Jeff Hamilton quit? Do you guys remember the response to that?
Yeah,
Do you guys
that
remember
one
that
was
post?
that. The comments on that one were like
Were we talking about it?
extremely toxic. Yeah.
Yeah. And we assumed that Skarzard would get a more like a more positive
Yeah.
reaction, because he had like better PR within at least the high end community, but I don't think the high end community is necessarily on Wowhead forums. So
Oh, definitely
okay,
not. Yeah.
I remember reading some pretty shitty stuff, but I think they may have removed some of them, which is really good.
What the hell? Censorship?
I think that's good though. Yeah, that's actually what I was going to bring up, because I remember from the Jeff Hamilton thing. Okay, you're Wowhead. Your job is to report the news. So a Blizzard developer leaving is news. You're going to report the news. But if that ends up meaning that it's like an avenue for the worst people you know to go in the comment section and say just absolutely terrible things that you know affected that person. Like, I mean, even Skarsgård mentioned like how he hated so much how like that was the reaction that happened from that. Like, if you're Wowhead and you're reporting the news and you see that that's the outcome, I think you have to moderate your comment section better, because I think there's probably universally acceptable opinion that like that isn't okay, right? Like, you're there to report the news, but like your site turning into a place for people to just like shit on this person they don't know at all, or have no idea really what they worked on other than some like random Wowhead anecdotes, which at least for him were like partially inaccurate. Um, I feel like you have to curate that to where your website doesn't become a place to just hate people. But it looks like they did that with Skarsgård, because I remember reading more comments and I remember them being like,
Yeah, there's somebody in here
extremely
has a
negative.
comment that's talking about how deleting their comment was a bit much. So definitely there's been some censorship on my free speech forum here. I can't
I mean,
believe
they
this.
should. They should.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely believe they should. It just there's no way you should want, like, dude, I'd be so embarrassed if I owned that and I was like reporting the news, which is my job, and then like the people that are using my website are just using it to spew hate about something they know nothing about. I would just want to remove that part of that for sure.
I mean, I don't think there should be comments in general for Wowhead News. Like, I think it's fine to have comments for like specific item descriptions and whatever it may be. You know how people like look up quests, and there's usually comments they dig into. But I feel like there serves no purpose having comments in a Wowhead article. I
I
feel like
think
they should
I don't
just
know if
have
I
that
agree with
in.
that.
Well, I
I
don't know. I
think,
feel like they should just discuss it in like elsewhere, like Reddit or wherever it may be.
well, why not have it? I mean, for one, the reason they have it there is it like probably builds engagement and makes them sell more ads and stuff. So there's a
Yeah, hundred
huge reason
percent.
why it
Yeah.
exists. It's just like, I think maybe that take is because you know what Wowhead comments look like, to where you're
Well,
just
no, but
like,
I
bro,
also
why?
feel like Wowhead comments or Wowhead news should be as unbiased as possible, and it often is biased in some way. Because you know how like they usually clickbait titles with like saying shit like "oh, Boomkin is dead" or whatever, like stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
but
Like,
we all do that on YouTube too. That's just like
yeah,
kind of
but I don't
how
feel like that should.
information is.
Well, I think that's different between YouTube and news articles, right? I feel like news articles hold a
They should be held
certain.
to a higher standard.
Yeah, exactly, and
Hmm.
that's not quite the same as just making content or discussing it about it on Reddit or well, WoW
It's
forums or wherever it may
interesting.
be.
Money wise, it's the same thing. So I could see their argument being, because like
Yeah.
the more people who click on your thing, the more ads you sell, the more profitable your website is. And if you don't do that, then maybe you go out of business and there is no Wowhead. So there has to be. I can totally understand the perspective of them where it's like they do that a little bit because they need to drive viewership, as most newspapers and all kinds of forms of like written literature anywhere like that has to exist. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I personally just never trust news just because of how there's always some type of bias and it needs
yeah.
authenticity. And I think that's like by far the most important thing. So just
Yeah, I
like
just get
enabling comments.
ChatGPT to summarize it for me.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
I would agree with you based on purely what Wowhead comments have become. Like initially, I think a place where news is happening and seeing people's initial reaction to that news could be really interesting to me to see how people are feeling as it differs from me. I just think that specifically Wowhead in general has just somehow curated, just on average, just the worst person you know is the commenter, is the average commenter on that website, because it's just purely just not happy in their life, miserable, like just spewing hate as soon as they read something extremely negative, like that just overwhelmingly those people love being there, right?
I
And
mean,
that's
even
what
if
it's
it's
turned out to be.
positive, I can't necessarily trust it. Like, even if all the wild comments were positive, like, say it was the monk changes, for example, right? Like the Mystic Touch changes, and all the monks were like, wow, this is amazing. This is great. Except it's not actually good. Like, it's not good for the game. So I feel like it can be hard to just
Well,
take.
yeah, but the comment section isn't a reflection of Wowhead
It
necessarily. It's like
definitely isn't.
people.
Yeah. But it
So like,
definitely has like some level of what's the word? It it creates a
like
certain narrative.
Maybe. Yeah, I just think like for example, that really good video that guy made about why Mystic Touch was bad and then they ended up reverting it. Like that could have been put in the comment section or separately put on YouTube. That is like Wowhead is like almost no control over that, and you can get that information across whether on the WoW forums or that. I think the fact they have a comment section is like totally fine.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that just
sure.
like if there are posts about like they should do what they've done here, which is either heavily moderate the comment section or turn it off entirely on posts where it's like divisive or about if it's about like
Well,
a
but
real
that
person
creates a
leaving Blizzard,
message
like
though. Like I also don't like that. If you're only disabling it for certain, like
well, it's
you know
just
what I
like
mean. Like if you're watching a certain YouTube video and comments are disabled, you know why the comments
yeah,
are disabled,
yeah,
and
but that's
that's
still
kind of
better
like
than
But
like
that's
letting
still
people just
good though.
dunk on
Yeah, that
some
was
random Blizzard
most
dev
of the
that
time
left.
that's a good decision, I
Yeah,
think.
like
Like if you know your comment section is only going to be just the worst of the worst people, why would you even create that forum? But that
well, but
doesn't
that's why I
mean
feel like
that
it should just always be disabled.
yeah,
You
but
know?
like there's not any danger of like, oh man, the monk tuning post is out. Like people are gonna be typing, about how a real person sucks in the comments here. I mean, I guess there will be some people typing those things in the comment section, but like it's a lot less bad than I think if you have a post about a Blizzard dev leaving or something like that. Like I think there's just
I
less
mean,
danger there.
his take of like there just shouldn't be comment sections, whether you could remove them from everywhere. Like there's no commentary anywhere. It's purely actually as streamers we should do that. There should be no written comments. All there can be is streaming reactions.
Hmm.
That's the only thing that's okay. Then I'm fucking on board with that. But I feel like yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. I just feel like then it's like who has the power, who has the like obviously if you are them, if you put yourselves in their shoes, they're like why should they let the ad money go to the Twitter think pieces on this and the YouTube ones when we could just have them on our site and become more profitable? Like they're never going to not do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they'll still get that revenue. It's just like there might be less engagement, but at the same time, if Wowhead had a better, actually, I don't even know. Because I mean, to be fair, everyone does go on Wowhead regardless. It's kind of like the go-to site, right?
Yeah,
Like
they've
they've
successfully pushed
established
everyone
their
out.
yeah.
Yeah, they killed MMO Champion, which used to have like competition for them. They've become the place. If they were less divisive, people would still click on it. But also like I don't know if you're in charge of making money and no one besides 3 random podcasters are
Yeah.
like calling you out for it and you can get away with it and you can make a ton more money by people clicking on your stuff, you're probably going to do that.
Hey
Our
man, we're not random.
our brave official position is only we should be allowed to do clickbait and comment
Correct.
farming and engagement
Yeah.
baiting. Yeah.
I mean, that is correct.
Everybody else doing it is unethical.
I do
Yeah,
I
so
do fucking feel you on the news becoming biased and
Yeah.
much more recently, just in general in the world. I find that very frustrating.
yeah, like it's hard to actually get concrete information always.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say the Skarsgård thing too. I mean, like to be fair, even our YouTube comments had people talking about like him leaving in a negative light. So I don't think it's like just Wowhead.
Definitely.
Like I
not.
think
Yeah,
a
but
large part of it is just like some
I
people just
would
didn't like the state of how WoW was at the time, whether it's like trinkets or whatever, and they just like blame it on Skarsgård.
I want to just also clarify anything I would say Wowhead should do, we would also like if there's any comments in our comment section that are purely not constructive and are just hateful should absolutely be removed every single time,
Yeah, I agree.
no matter what they're about or who they're about.
Yeah, especially if they're about, a person instead of a game thing or something. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're also saying it's constructive. Someone's saying like the game is bad. Yeah, like that is I mean, there can be obviously more nuanced criticism than that, but that is like you can have that.
Yeah.
It's
Although
just when you're
I'm not sure how coherent that take it. Like I saw some of the takes that were like basically when we were on our last podcast, I read a couple of the comments and there were people that were like, yeah, I mean, just if the game sucks for so many years, right? Like there can't like some of the people working on it have to be kind of bad, but like you're writing a comment on a YouTube video that's a podcast about this video game. Like clearly it can't be that bad of a game for you to be consuming podcasts about it, right? Like it's I don't know. I feel like the take that like WoW is a bad game is kind of a crazy take to have if you are this like invested in it, and you're
It's like the meme Steam review, right? Where
yeah,
it's like it shows
10,000
the picture of
hours.
someone playing 10,000 hours, and they're like, "This game is terrible."
I mean, I think it's definitely more nuanced than that because like there are things to complain about, right? Like it's not like we live in a perfect game. Because like obviously, if we're passionate about the game, there are certain things we just don't like. In fact, I was going to talk about the dungeons this season. Like, goddamn, some of the changes they've made to the. I like how relevant this is, but like, holy fuck, they've made some terrible changes to some of these dungeons. I don't know if you guys have seen, but they made Gambit and Halls of Atonement two absolutely beloved Shadowlands dungeons into complete dog shit. And it's honestly kind of
That's
sad.
not
But
good.
yeah,
I saw the change to the fish sticks.
yeah, that was a very hot topic. Yeah,
Yeah. Where they just you can't like stop them anymore. They just spawn, you have to kill them.
yeah. Like why?
Yeah.
We don't want you guys to mass pull.
Yeah. And you know, we want you to interact with these in the way in like we don't basically like there's a way of playing M plus that has sort of been the dominant strategy over the past years, which is an extreme amount of control of the pack and like stopping them from doing their important ability rather than dealing with their important abilities. And Blizzard clearly doesn't like that, but also like every time they try and change it to force us to deal with stuff, we don't like it. So
Yeah, the never-ending
Yeah.
power struggle.
yeah.
Yeah, in Halls of Atonement too, it's insane. They made the packs have like 4 different magic debuffs that you have to dispel going out at once. There's like a new dot that goes on the tank that makes them take increased damage that has to be dispelled. There's the curse of annihilation, which you would think is a curse, so it should be decursed, except they made it into a magic dispel, so you have to magic dispel that too. And then there's also the siphon life from the collectors. So there's like 3 different things you have to dispel, except they happen so fast that you can't actually dispel more than one at a time.
That's kind of fascinating to me. The concept of bringing back a fan favorite dungeon and then for any reason nerfing the part of it that made people like it. It's like, why not just bring back a dungeon people didn't really like and try to make their thing positive? But like, people kind of know what they're going to get. Oh, am I going to play Mythic Plus this season? Wait, Freehold and Underwater in the season? Fucking log in. Like, I'm going to play this season because of that. And then you log in and your expectations are shut down because they made the thing you remember being great as bad. That's just like such an interesting decision. Like maybe the reality there is they don't actually know what makes those things fun. Or maybe there's the reality of they do know, and it's most dungeons that are really fun have a common. I mean, the Gambit and Halls of Atonement are like 2 of the biggest mass pull dungeons of all time. So it's like it turns out mass pulling stuff is really fun, and that's what you want to do. And then they have a general just aversion to wanting to let you do that in the first place. So there's always going to be that internal battle. So they're bringing back fan favorite dungeons, but then they actually don't fundamentally like the thing that makes fan favorite dungeons fan favorites.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is exactly. I don't know if it's just like they feel the dungeon's outdated or maybe they have like a certain vision.
Yeah, it's like even
Or
if
they
a
just I
dungeon
don't
was
know.
popular and enjoyed by players, they just they want to make it the like modern version, right? Like fit the modern design philosophy and stuff. They don't want to just like it's like how you can't just revert to Legion DH or whatever. You can't just go back and do BFA Freehold, although
Well,
Well,
I
but
kind of
why
wish you
can't
could.
you? Like,
isn't
you
their
can't you
recent
really not?
design philosophy in line with what people want? Like, wasn't the changes they made last season where like there's a lot less shit going
Yeah.
on and like tanks aren't getting murdered every single pack? Like, why would
Yeah, they
why
kind
would
of went
that?
back on that actually.
I was about to say like that. What happened to that? Right? Are they? I don't know.
Oh yeah, and I forgot the wicked bolts are just randomly bolting players now too. So yeah, you also have to deal with that.
Yeah, that's fun. I did my first plus 20 of the season yesterday, so I'm
Wait,
Gaming.
what was it?
Motherload.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah, with the grease guns zapping people on the first pull. That's fun. But yeah,
Wait, so you're out here doing some pretty high keys. Oh, shit, you're actually playing the end of the season.
yeah, I'm going for a quick cheeky 8-key title adventure. We'll see if that works out.
Yeah, one of those people who actually just steals title from legitimate players that work
That's
their
right.
way up.
That's right.
The
That's
working man.
look, man. They made resilient keys. You got to use them. Somebody's got to use them. May as well be me.
Oh man.
Not my resilient keys, of course. My guildies. That's
Yeah, just leeching
Yeah, of
off his
course.
league.
yeah. Well, it
That's a
works.
classic.
All right, I think
All right.
we're good.
Yeah,
Nice little.
we'll see you guys next week when we talk about something about the new patch, probably. Because I guess when we record next week, it'll be right before or a day of new patch or something, or a couple days before. Yeah, we'll see. Talk about that or something. Let us know in the comments what you're excited for in Midnight, and don't forget to smash that like and sub button. Later, gamers.
Yep. Subbub. Adios.
Adios.